Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. And today, I want to just take a few moments and share this political thought. And first of all, I already know that I'm going to get some interesting stuff behind this one because I'm not a political guy. I'm not a politics guy. That's really not my thing. You know, I believe that, networking and things of that nature, but politics in the traditional sense is really not my thing. But I had to comment about this because my buddy, one of my friends, he reached out to me and we were talking and he said, man, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, Hill. So what's your whole thought behind the whole election thing and all that stuff? And I said, man, I just kind of chuckled to myself. I said, dude, I ain't got no dog in that race. I ain't got no pony in that show. I ain't got no, that ain't my thing, right? So he says, what do you mean by that? I said, dude, I'm already very much aware that we have a very weighted system. In other words, it's tilted. There's nothing fair about the system, so it's not going to be a fair outcome. You know, that whole kind of deal. So he asked me to kind of expound on it. So I said, okay, cool, I'll kind of expound on it. So what I said to him was, I said, dude, listen, none of the powers that be will ever give or relinquish its ability or its power into the hand of the common man. It wouldn't happen. They wouldn't give poor people the true power to reposition their powerful people. That's not something that's even realistic. No person would do that. My daddy taught me like this. No man walks into a fight and gives the person that he's fighting a bat or a pole to fight him with. They're not going to do that. Notice that he said a pole. They're not going to give him a pole to fight with. It's just not realistic. So because I understand that we have a weighted system, because I understand that these things are tilted and swayed on so many different levels, these things are already established way before we ever see them. My dad used to always talk about that. He said they've already picked and selected who they wanted 40 years in advance, 50 years in advance, based upon the families, based upon the interest of the families and the interest of the organizations and the companies and things of that nature. So we really don't have a say-so in that. We can do things that give us the illusion of inclusion or make us think or believe that we have some kind of say-so, or like, so we can go to the store and or walk around with these things that have the badge on and saying that we did this, we did that. As a matter of fact, let me show you guys this clip. And in my due diligence of study and research, I came across this clip, and I have to share it. So just take a moment. I want you guys to look at this, and then we'll come back, and then I'll give you my further commentary. Take a look.
Mr. Curtis, would you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Clinton Eugene Curtis.
And where do you reside?
Tallahassee, Florida.
And what is your profession?
I'm a computer programmer.
Would you please speak into the microphone so the audience can hear your testimony?
I'm a computer programmer.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for President Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
Mr. Would you answer that question once again?
They would never see it.
So how would such a program, a secret program that fixes the election, how could it be detected?
You would have to view it either in the source code, or you'd have to have a receipt and then count the hard paper against the actual vote total. Other than that, you won't see it.
All right. Now, when I came across this video, first of all, I chuckled and laughed to myself, and I said, wow, that only makes perfect sense. Because I believe that ultimately, they're going to eventually make it so convenient for us to vote, and so convenient, and I'll say us, because I have no dog in that race. They're going to make the process of voting, eventually, I believe they're going to manipulate and place it where you can vote on the internet, you can vote on your phone, things like that. They'll do some situation where they may scan your thumb, and then that verifies who you are, and then you can vote via internet. So then it basically gives a greater sense of control, because you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the system and the powers that be, it's all about control, and whatever they can control and manipulate, that's exactly what it is. We would be unwise in our function to even assume that it's any other way. If the power of election and voting, as we understand it, was really something that was valid, that could really effectuate change in a true sense, they would never put it in the hand of the majority of poor people to make that decision. That's not realistic. I will never forget, I heard George W. Bush say this one time. He said, just because a person has the most votes doesn't mean that they're going to win. I never forgot that statement. What a substantial statement to say. And after further research, I discovered that, hey man, he's actually correct. There is a whole nother entity that does this. What we do, or what's been done in terms of the voting process, it's just to see who's popular, see what the people think, or what. It's just like, okay, we just want to kind of see what y'all think about the person. It doesn't mean that's who's going to be selected. The selection process has already happened. My attorney told me once that even in a court of law, it's all a script. They just give you, basically, you just an actor. You're just a person on stage. The only thing you're doing is just going in. This lawyer talks to this lawyer, and they basically determine what the script has already determined, and the script gives you a couple different variations. It says, okay, you're going to either get the gun or the knife or the bat, but you're going to get one of them. It's not like you can pick. It's not like there's an option outside of those. And think about this, in all of the dynamics of politics and all those things. That's why I really don't have no dog in it. Got no pony in that show, because I already know that we're in an unfair system. So if we're in an unfair system, why would we, as logical thinking people, why would we assume that fairness can derive from an unfair system? It doesn't make sense. Why would we think, or why would we believe that you can get justice out of an unjust system? Why do we think that we're going to get righteous judgment and we don't have righteousness? Right? So you would have to, just by deductive reasoning, you would have to think, okay, maybe it's something in this milk that's not clean. And because I've come into a greater understanding, I say, hey man, listen, I get it. So when I saw the video and the guy talking about the machine and the programs that's been written to basically sway it 51-49 in whatever direction that you want to go, that's just normal thinking. You would assume, yeah, of course somebody could do that. The history books are only written by those that won the battle. It doesn't mean that what they said was the real story. It just means the person that won the battle, the person that had the finance to write the book, they put in there whatever they want. I've experienced this before. People can write whatever they want if they're the ones that's doing the writing, if they're the ones that's documenting. They can put down whatever the crap they want to. And we have to be wise enough, and we have to be spiritually guided enough to understand, okay, we're in a system that does not handle things in a fair manner, because it's not a fair system. It's an unjust, it's an unrighteous, and it's definitely not a fair system. So I'm not suggesting that anybody agree with me. I'm not suggesting that anybody believe absolutely anything that I say. I'm merely submitting my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my thought process, and through deductive reasoning and logical evaluation, this is what I've seen historically. This is what I've seen across the board. And if you go back and you look at it, the dynamic in terms of even the presidency, it's not necessarily a person. We've got it confused, like, oh, we voted for this person and this person is going to change it. Why do you think that none of the interest for this group of people that synergize all their thoughts on this person or this face or this personality, to think that this is something that was actually going to change it for us? It doesn't. It's a script. He's going to read off a board. He's going to read off of something from this. The presidency is an entity. It's not a person. So if you ever understand that, if you ever come to a pure knowledge, and through divine revelation, you start to understand and say, hey, wait a minute, man, something about this thing is not right. Because anybody can say anything. You're going to always get, as Chris Rock once said, you'll get their representative while you're dating them. But the real person shows up once once you hook up with them. So the idea to think that this person was going to change it for African Americans, that was completely off. That was distorted thinking. And the powers that be, they knew that. They knew that people would say, okay, let me toss my vote into this hat because this person looks or reflects like me. One of the greatest things that an enemy can do, if they can't get their agenda pulled off with a face that doesn't look like you, A smart enemy will put a face that looks like you in position, and then you'll psychologically bend your belief system because you think somehow this person, if they look like me, they must have my interest at heart. That's completely not true. It's 100% not true. It goes in same situations. If you have, for example, a public defender or somebody that the court appoints, you got to remember, if the court appoints them, who do they really work for? They don't really work for you. They work for the courts. So if these people have been placed in position by the same system that is designed to keep you oppressed, the mechanism that's running is not going to bring you into liberation and freedom. It's not. That's not the way it's designed. So I'm simply submitting my opinion and my thoughts based upon divine revelation, divine knowledge. And my people, according to the scripture, are only being destroyed for the lack of knowledge. I already know this thing ain't gonna get a whole bunch of hits, ain't gonna get a whole bunch of views, because most people do not want truth. I've shared this with people for years. Most people do not want truth. Sarah Pearl Hill told me this years ago. Most people do not want truth because truth exposes you for who you are and for what you are, and then it forces you to find a place of freedom. Because when the scripture says you know the truth and the truth will not set you free, that's a misguided quote. The scripture says that the truth will make you free. In other words, it forces you out of bondage into freedom, whether you want to be in it or not, but you have to accept it. And most people would choose and rather remain in chains psychologically, spiritually, and even in a lot of cases physically, because they refuse to embrace and employ truth. Evaluate it from a truth perspective. My people are only destroyed for the lack of knowledge. It's the lack of knowledge. It's the lack of knowledge. Get the knowledge, and the knowledge will then cause you to crave wisdom. Why? Because wisdom is the ability to properly apply what? The knowledge. This is your friend and brother, Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. The servant has spoken.